An RCR executive says the team was shocked by Tyler Reddick's announcement yesterday, and Justin Marks says he wants Ross Chastain to see the bigger picture. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Lots going on in the world of motorsports this week. Did you see all the IndyCar drama yesterday with Alex Palou? But we've also had a lot of new motorsports content on this channel. I'm wearing my SRX shirt I got at Nashville Fairgrounds. If you missed that video, go check it out. And yesterday I announced an all-new podcast I'm doing called Zoom Lens, where me and my friend Josh will review racing movies. That link is down in the description below. Be sure to go check out one of the most recent episodes. On today's episode of Out of the Groove, there is no shortage of drama. Let's begin real quick with some on-track drama from this past weekend at Atlanta. Of course, that race came down to Chase Elliott trying to hold off LaJoie, put an aggressive block on LaJoie on the final lap. LaJoie ended up in the fence and wrecked. Chase Elliott got his third win of the year. Well, today, I believe LaJoie is releasing a full conversation that he and Chase Elliott had this week, so perhaps tomorrow I'll react to that in more detail. But in today's video, I just want to touch on this subject because NASCAR, from their official account, tweeted a pretty cool video, LaJoie breaking down in great detail the final few laps of this past weekend's race. LaJoie gave us a real in-depth peek behind the curtain, if you will, a little peek under the visor, telling us exactly what he was thinking on certain restarts, how he was trying to manage pushes from the inside and the outside lane, where he felt like, his chance to win the race kind of fell apart. But he also broke down that final run he had down the front straightaway where he made his move on Chase Elliott. And he said something that I thought was interesting. He went high, he swung way out wide to try and pass Elliott, but originally the plan was to go low, and LaJoie tried to commit to the bottom, but he got such a huge push from Eric Jones, you could see it wiggle his car a bit. At that point where it happened, he was unable to point his car to the bottom and pick the lane he wanted. So he was forced, in other words, to swing wide and try to pass Elliott on the high side. And LaJoie did say this about Elliott's block.
And Chase made his winning move, blocks me, sticks me in the fence. And then I completely annihilate the fence, which hurt.
Look, we all know LaJoie is a really good sport. We saw him congratulate Chase Elliott in victory lane after the race on Sunday. But you can tell he wasn't thrilled by that last lap move. Sure, maybe LaJoie could have done something a little different, but Elliott, it was an extremely aggressive block. LaJoie doesn't hit the wall and crash if Elliott doesn't make that move. It's a tough call these days. You gotta do what you gotta do to win the race. And like I said Sunday, Chase Elliott's block wasn't as egregious, to me at least, as the block Larson tried to put on Elliott at Auto Club when he just didn't know Elliott was out there, or even Austin Cindric at the end of Daytona 500. He moved up into Blaney when Blaney already had his full nose outside his car. To me, this wasn't as bad as either of those. That's what I said on Sunday, but still, it's a little frustrating that the race had to end that way. But in LaJoie, maybe letting a hint of that frustration shine through right there. I'm really curious to hear the full conversation he had with Chase Elliott. Perhaps we'll talk about that in tomorrow's video, like I said. But just wanted to touch on that really interesting breakdown LaJoie provided of the final few laps at Atlanta Superspeedway. Next, let's go from some on-track drama to some off-track drama. Yesterday, the big news, Tyler Reddick will join 23XI Racing, Toyota, in 2024. Not this year, not next year, but the year after. He's still under contract with Richard Childress Racing for like 18 months. I read you this statement from RCR yesterday. Yes, this is an official statement. We're proud of the success Tyler Reddick has found at Richard Childress Racing. We're focused on winning a championship in 2022 and 2023, although timing of this announcement could not be any worse. A very emotional statement from Richard Childress Racing there. Now, also yesterday afternoon, Daniel McFadden, NASCAR reporter, tweeted, I reached out to an RCR executive about the Reddick announcement, and they said, quote, we were shocked to hear the news today. Shocked. They were blindsided, apparently, by this 23XI Tyler Reddick announcement. I mean, I guess we all kind of were, but I would have hoped that maybe Reddick's current team would have been at least loosely aware of the situation, but they say they weren't. Now, Tyler Reddick, during that press conference yesterday, said something a little bit different. Reddick said, quote, it shouldn't have been a total shock to RCR. As we were navigating what the future would look like a while ago, we said that after the option was up in 23 and 24 and on, we were not sure if we were going to return, that we were going to figure out what lied ahead. So it shouldn't have been a true shock to them. It's out there and everyone has the information now. Now we all collectively figure out what do we do from here. Now, so I guess that last part kind of backs up what that RCR executive was saying. It doesn't sound like Tyler Reddick told RCR about this announcement until the announcement was actually made. So when Reddick joined that Microsoft Teams call and announced it alongside Denny Hamlin, that was the first time anyone at RCR was hearing about it. That's a little surprising. I've seen a lot of comments on my video yesterday on Twitter criticizing Reddick for bailing on the team that gave him his Cup Series opportunity, that helped him win an Xfinity Series championship. Where's the loyalty? And I get those arguments to a certain extent. It doesn't help that Reddick's joining Toyota, one of the more polarizing manufacturers, especially among longtime fans of the sport. But honestly, I don't have a huge issue with Reddick not telling RCR until the announcement goes public. 2311 Racing wanted to make sure they controlled the narrative. No one can keep a secret in the garage. If Reddick tells people at RCR, hey, I'm leaving for 2311 after next year, it's gonna leak out. Reddick was expected to be one of the hottest free agents after next year, and so 2311 wanted to sign him ASAP, and once pen has been put to paper, might as well announce it on your own terms before a reporter, before a rival team gets the chance to leak it out themselves. So I really don't have a problem with how this played out. You know, traditionally, in most jobs, you're supposed to give like a 2 weeks notice. Tyler Reddick just gave RCR an 18 months notice. There's no easy way to break up with someone, and it is going to be awkward that they have to basically live together for another year and a half. But from a business standpoint, this gives Richard Childress Racing plenty of time to figure out a plan B, work on a contingency plan. There's a lot of speculation out there that RCR may buy out Tyler Reddick a year early and either have him sit for a year, maybe Reddick has to go find a ride somewhere else. I don't think that's gonna happen. If you're Richard Childress Racing, yeah, it's really awkward, yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable, but you wanna show sponsors and other drivers potentially that that 8 car is a legit contender for 2024 and beyond. And Tyler Reddick behind the wheel gives you the best chance of accomplishing that, showcasing that. So I don't think they'll buy him out, but crazier things have happened, I suppose. I just hope RCR can start to turn things around. They really haven't had a superstar driver since Kevin Harvick. And on that note, it's ironic, he announced he was leaving RCR like a year in advance as well. So Richard Childress Racing has had a hard time holding on to superstars in the past decade, and that's why the team has gone from an A-list team contending for championships regularly to now kind of a B plus team. They're there, they'll get a car in the playoffs most years, but they're not really considered a true championship contender most years. This year with the next gen and Tyler Reddick, maybe they are, but this is not the norm. I know fans forever have accused Richard Childress of, favoring his grandsons too much. Austin Dillon's been in that 3 car now for like 8 or 9 years, and he's got 3 wins. He's made the playoffs a few times, but he hasn't done anything mind-blowing. And of course, I'm reminded of that infamous interview Kevin Harvick gave at Martinsville back in like 2013 when he said one of the reasons he's leaving RCR is because of those young kids coming up who've been spoon-fed their whole careers. And he was talking about Ty Dillon. He was mad at Ty Dillon at that moment. Maybe he was throwing Austin Dillon under the bus there as well. It was heat of the moment. Kevin Harvick's a bit of a hothead, but he did say that. And ever since then, I guess it's always been sort of the subplot there at RCR. I don't think that's why Tyler Reddick's leaving. I don't think Reddick's annoyed that he has to race alongside Richard Childress's grandson and feels like his grandson's being favorited too much. I doubt that. I think 2311 offered him a really nice contract. It's a cool new team with Toyota backing, a lot of great sponsors over there. Michael Jordan is the head of the team. Like I said yesterday, RCR may be a little better right now, but 2311 is still young, and I think they have the resources to one day hit a higher ceiling than RCR is capable of. That's what Tyler Reddick is betting on, and I don't think it's a bad gamble necessarily. I want RCR to be great. They're one of the most accomplished, storied, iconic race teams in NASCAR history, but I don't know, things don't look great right now. Noah Gragson tweeted a smiley face yesterday, so he seems to think maybe the 8 car, maybe RCR will be a landing spot for him one day. I love Noah Gragson, but I don't see a team of Noah Gragson and Austin Dillon making a whole lot of noise, at least not in the near future. So we'll see what the future holds for Richard Childress Racing. I hope it's positive, even though right now things seem to be crumbling all around them. Now lastly, let's go back to some on-track drama, on and off track a little bit here. I do want to talk about Ross Chastain. I had this topic planned for a couple of days, but between all the Reddick and 2311 news, I had to kind of bump it to the side. But I don't want to forget Ross Chastain, because he was one of the main stories this past weekend at Atlanta. Everyone praises Ross Chastain for his no-nonsense, aggressive racing, driving. And as I've admitted before, it is fun to watch, even though occasionally it steps over the line, perhaps, at least in my opinion. The thing for me about Ross Chastain, though, is there's a difference between aggressive driving and careless driving. And too often Ross Chastain crosses into this category, which was the case I thought towards the end of the Atlanta race when he got tight and rather than lift, get out of the gas and try to hold his line, he just let himself drift up and take out Denny Hamlin without a care in the world. Obviously, that's not even the first time this month he's just wrecked Denny Hamlin carelessly. But Jeff Burton on the NBC USA Network broadcast said something that stuck with me and has stuck with me all week. He said from the booth about Ross Chastain, quote, "He won't win a championship because they won't let him win a championship if he doesn't clean it up." And I thought about that. You know, I looked at the standings and I'm like, Ross Chastain has 2 wins this year. If the playoffs began today, I believe he would be the 2 seed. I know he's made enemies out there, but they've just been so fast. I'm sure he can overcome that, right? Nobody's gonna take him out if he makes it to Phoenix, right? But then I thought more and more about all the drivers he's upset and how nearly every week there's 1 or 2 new names voicing their displeasure with Ross Chastain. Suddenly it feels like Chastain is literally on an island surrounded by sharks. 39 sharks. I don't see a way Ross Chastain gets off that island alive. Denny Hamlin would probably be leading the feeding frenzy. He told Dustin Long from NBC after the race, "Everyone has a different tolerance level, but you guys know I've reached my peak. It all works itself out in the end." Playing his cards close to his chest, but we know Denny Hamlin, he's already vowed revenge when it matters most on Ross Chastain. Incident Atlanta is only going to make that revenge sting more. So I'm inclined now to agree with Jeff Burton that as fast as Ross Chastain has been this year, I don't think there's any way he wins the championship. I'll be surprised if he makes it to the championship 4 at this rate. He just has too many enemies. Remember back in the old EA Sports, like NASCAR Thunder video games, you'd have allies and rivals, and if you ran into a driver too much, they'd get darker and darker red, and the next time they saw you, they would just door slam you. It was kind of comical. I had a lot of people door slamming me back when I played those video games, and it made it hard to win races sometimes. That's where Chastain is at. He's used all of his mulligans, and you can really tell when you listen to how Justin Marks, his team owner, talks about Chastain this week compared to a few weeks ago when he was very defensive, very supportive of Chastain after Gateway. On Monday, Justin Marks appeared on SiriusXM. He was on Dave Moody's show, and here's some of what he said.
It's just making sure that Ross understands the big picture, understands, there's a lot of sponsors that have a lot of money invested in our company that are hoping to win races and compete for a championship. And
will there be a point in the future where you can envision yourself, kind of putting your arm around his shoulder as you do and saying, you just need to step back just a little. You need to back her down just a tiny little bit?
Yeah, I think that point could always come. And I'm sure we'll have discussions about it this week. We have to be prepared for some of the damage that's already been done while continuing to challenge ourselves and him challenge himself to make good decisions moving forward.
We have to be prepared for the damage that's already been done. I think that was an interesting line. Look, I think Justin Marks is scared to ask Ross Chastain to change. And I think Ross Chastain is scared to change his driving philosophy too much because he's driven a certain way his entire career. And look at where it's gotten him. It's gotten him to the NASCAR Cup Series in a competitive ride, a ride that he's been able to win in, that he can contend for a championship in. Unfortunately, that philosophy has gotten him in some hot water and has made, I think, his path to a championship a little more difficult. So that's the question. Can Ross Chastain dial back the aggressiveness or at least the carelessness and still win races and still contend for a championship? I know he said that he's worked on things in the past, how to control his anger behind the wheel, and maybe that's helped him in some situations this year, but now he needs to work on when to ramp up and when to ratchet down the aggressiveness. I love watching aggressive racers, but if you're aggressive all the time and you make enough enemies, those enemies will stop you from winning a championship. 2015 Joey Logano would like to have a word. So this segment isn't me trying to take shots at Ross Chastain. I'm a big Ross Chastain fan. Like I said Sunday night, it's weird because off the track, his story is so inspirational. He seems like a very likable guy. There's really nothing to dislike about Ross Chastain's attitude, his upbringing. It's just on the track. He makes too many careless mistakes. So I'm really just looking out for him because I think Ross Chastain could become a superstar for the next 15, 20 years. He could win a championship this year, but the only way he does that is if he plays extremely nice from here on out. So I'm just trying to look out for him. That's all I'm trying to do. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. I know we covered a wide variety of topics today. Tell me what you thought of that LaJoie breakdown of the Elliott contact, Tyler Reddick, shocking RCR with his announcement, and let me know what you expect from Ross Chastain after hearing Justin Marks' quotes this week. Should be a pretty interesting discussion down in the comment section. I look forward to reading those. Thanks for watching. That's gonna do it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR almost every single day here on Out of the Groove. Groove. Again, be sure to check out Zoom Lens, our all-new podcast. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. It's thanks to you guys that Out of the Groove continues to grow, more and more content coming each and every week. I greatly appreciate your very generous support. We'll be back again probably tomorrow. There's just been no shortage of interesting topics going on around the NASCAR world this week. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Have a great rest of your day.